Hello, hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to another episode of Intuitive Creator Spotlight. If you're new to our channel, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video if you like it, and ring the notification bell to stay connected with all of the videos that we're posting here. Today, we are having an interview with the amazing Paige. She is a psychedelic Akashic practitioner. She embraced her journey of healing deep feminine wounds and reclaiming her sacred feminine in everything that she does in her work. And I can't wait for her to share her story with us. I'm super excited about her sharing everything that's going on in her life at the moment too. So hi, Paige, welcome to our interview.
Hi, thank you for having me. So excited.
I am super excited to have you here, and I can't wait to learn everything about what you're doing. I mean, I know those amazing things that you're working on, but I can't wait for everybody to hear as well, everybody who's watching us. So I know that your journey is truly inspiring, and we've been connected for a number of years now. So it's always a joy to see your journey and transformation. Can you share with us, please, what initially led you to explore the realms of Akashic Records, and I also know plant medicine?
So with most modalities out there, I really truly believe that they find you when it's time and when you're ready. So I found the Akashics through a friend of mine. There was just something about them that just drew me right in. I was like, tell me what it is, tell me more. I want in and give it to me now. So that's kind of where it started in about 2019. But when I first learned how to tap into the Akashics, it was very not surface, but like it was very like you go in with questions and then you come out and you get your answers, like very to the point kind of thing. So I was doing that for a little while, but with clients, but then I started to notice that they turned into these journeys. And I was just following them. I was just allowing the energy to take me wherever it was leading us, wherever it was leading me and my client, and just trusting. And luckily, I obviously had some clients that were also very trusting. But once you're in the Akashics, you kind of get it. Like there's just this overall trust and this overall like I'm safe. I've been here. I know it's like this is okay. So it just kind of takes over. But anyway, they turned into these journeys and they turned into what they really needed to be uncovered at like a really deep soul level. And sometimes we connected to past lives in them that uncovered contracts and vows that we're really following into this lifetime. We went into journeys where they went back into when they were kids and it was a memory and they'd be like, oh my God, I haven't thought about this in years. But their soul remembered, their body remembered, their energy remembered, and they needed to work through those emotions to help alchemize, to help release it from the body so they could move forward. There were conversations that needed to happen with people who are still on this earth plane, but it was like they were brought in energetically so these conversations could happen on an energetic soul level to again move through what needed to be moved through, unblock the chakra of the throat, different things like that. So it was really cool. And just the more that I dove into it, the more I allowed these journeys to unfold. It was like, yep, this is it. This is the juice. I'm ready to rock with this. So that's where the Akashics came in. And I do go in for myself, but like most healers, right? You don't think about yourself until everyone's like, well, did you go in the Akashics to find out? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, not yet. So I should probably do that for myself, right? So, but then when I do, it's super potent and super powerful and so beautiful. So that's how I really connected to the Akashics. And how it kind of evolved for me into a different way than how I originally was taught and how it originally all started. Um, and then with the mushrooms, same thing. I always had this fascination with them, this draw to them. Ever since I was a teenager, there was just this fascination and this draw. And I didn't really get into them until I was 2020.
Mhm.
When pretty much the world shut down. me and some soul sisters, we would go out anyway and
Mhm.
just connect with each other and just have like these really powerful sisterhood days, which turned into evenings, which turned into nights, because when you're in that soul time, right, it's just poof, it's gone.
Mhm.
But my one soul sister, she created these really good sacred, beautiful sacred chocolates where she infused the mushrooms into them. She infused rose into them. She infused her intentions. And then we would have these beautiful ceremonies. And it was just, it changed me every time I walked away, which was perfect because during that time I was going through a really, really tough time with some hard truths that were coming forward and things that were crumbling away that I, thought were true. That turns out like, oh, everything's just crumbling and spiraling. So I was self-diagnosed, but I would say I was pretty depressed at that point. But each time that we got together and we did these ceremonies, I walked away just more, the magic seemed to come back. I started to see things differently. I started to see the world around us differently. The connection felt there was back again. Like it just brought me back to life, and it got me more grounded. And I felt more grounded in my body, more grounded into the earth, more grounded, more here, more present. So then that's when I was like, okay, there's even something more here I need to really dive into. And that's when I started to microdose. But of course, I did my research and I found myself a facilitator. And it just changed me in a lot of really cool ways. Even, I saw the change in myself, but it wasn't until even my family, like my husband and my kids, really started to notice the difference and see the difference in me, that I was like, okay, this is not just me, like noticing this, you guys too. So that's what I noticed. Just yeah, just the really big changes that were happening when I was microdosing. And again, there's something here.
Mhm.
So it just made me more present. It made me again feel much more alive. It's just kind of turned the light back on. Like everything just became more vibrant, and I saw things differently. I was able to see again things that I didn't see before, that I didn't want to see, right? And then so it really made you take stock on your life of like, okay, what truly is important and what can kind of just flow with it and let it fall away. Um, yeah, so it really helped me turn things around. And so that's when I was like, okay, there's something here. Everybody needs to know about these. Like, this is amazing. Why are they deemed so bad? Like the story, the belief, the
Mhm.
narrative about them, they need to change. They need to be shifted. They need to be
Mhm.
shifted for sure. Because it is all about setting, but it's like everything else. It's all about intention. It's all about setting. It's all about um what you're going to be doing with them and how you're going to be respecting them and honoring them and what they can truly do for you. So, and then I've been so passionate about both realms, the mushroom realm and the Akashic realm ever since. And then I kind of put them together because then it kind of led me down that path of I was doing all this beautiful work with people in the Akashics, and they were getting to the soul level. They were seeing the things that they needed to see. They were seeing their desired life and their life with when they're in alignment and what it really looks like and how beautiful it feels and the unconditional love and the flow and the expansion and the excitement. But then when they came back down to earth plane and back into everyday life, it was much more easier said than done, right? Like it was hard to put things together, and it was hard to not get distracted by all the things that life kind of throws at you, and then people would be back again, right? Wanting back into the Akashic, wanting all the answers, and it's like, well, we've already been here. I'd be happy to, but right, like so there was like that disconnect. They would be getting
Mhm.
what they needed. They'd be getting the clarity, the blockages removed, all those things, but then putting that into real-time action, there was just that disconnect. And I found for myself that bridge with that disconnect were the mushrooms. So that's when I kind of brought them together. to
Wow, what a
create
fascinating story. And as you're talking about it, I can feel your passion. And it almost feels like your soul found a super cool and fun playground. And of course, like you said, you've self-diagnosed, but you've been through depression. It feels like this playground is with some obstacles, of course, but then you have discovered what works for you. So when was that point when you decided that, hey, actually, I could also invite people to try these things as well as my clients, as maybe some of my friends who want to join me in these journeys? What was that moment when you knew that it was the time for you to do these things for other people?
it's just around, well, what's happening right now is everybody's really starting to feel like the pressure, right? Of like, and there's just something awakening in a lot of us where it's just, it doesn't feel comfortable. It feels like this this old skin wants to shed, but what does that mean, right? And then so people are so scared to like allow that layer to be shed because they don't know what's on the other side. And so I was noticing that a lot with family and with friends and just people on the, like seeing people on social media and things. So there really is like this collective awakening happening. But so many people are afraid to go forward with that next step. So that's where that's where that really hit me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like here's these two really juicy modalities that really helped me go forward in those next steps of the unknown and just trusting the intuition, just trusting that flow. And it's been amazing on the other side. And so if this has worked for me, and not only for me, it's also been working for my husband because my husband's been doing it as well. So for the both of us. And then you start to kind of meet other people who have been doing it as well, right? So you're like, okay, there really is something here. Like there's something here to really help people get to that next step, that get to that help them shed those layers, help them step into the unknown, help them trust their intuition a little more, help them trust the guidance of the universe a little bit more, just soften, allow them to soften into that. And I feel the two modalities really help you do that because with the Akashics, you're literally, you get to be there, you get to go there in the Akashics and see it and feel it for yourself. So you really can embody it and be like, okay, it's possible. I'm here and it feels freaking amazing. And then the mushrooms really help you soften and understand like what's important, what's not important, and soften into the like, yeah, no, this is okay. This is going to be okay. Right. So it really, the two combinations together. And then with the mushrooms too, they're really good. They really are good allies for the brain, right? So they're really good with the dopamine and the brain receptors and creating new pathways. So going forward, that usually means creating new habits, right? That you're not used to doing. So again, bringing the mushrooms in to really help with those new habits of thinking differently and doing things differently. That is another great like piece to the puzzle.
That's super interesting. And to those who are watching us, maybe they're thinking, okay, but what is actually Akashic Records? Because, sometimes when we do this for so long, it's like, oh, I just go there in the Akashic Records, I just see these things. But if there is anyone who's watching us and is thinking, what is Akashic Records? What would be your definition or explanation of what that is?
So the Akashic Records is a different realm, a different vibration, a different frequency that we enter into when we do this sacred invitation or we set our intention to get there. And basically in this vibration, in this frequency, it is our etheric library. It is everything that has ever been thought, created, experienced, spoke, all those things are all in there for the past, present, and your probable future. Is all up there. So you can have access to anything and everything that ever was and ever will be. Which is really big to wrap your human mind around. So it's really hard to explain to people. But then I say, like, as soon as we enter in there, it's just this soul remembrance. It's just like, oh, I know where we are. I get this, right? So it's really hard to explain it to the human mind, but the soul knows. So if you're listening to this and you already have like this, oh yeah, that's just the soul being like, yeah, you remember that? Like, let's go there. And that's what happens a lot too, is when I get a client in there, they are greeted by their guides and they're all like, oh my gosh, she's here. And they're hi. Like, they're usually so excited that you're back home, essentially, right?
Mm.
Um, and when I say probable future, so when I say your past, your present, your probable future is in there, your future, your aligned future is in there, but we always have free will. And that's what I was finding that was happening a lot, that people would go in there, they'd see the future of what could be. But then we get back to our everyday life and we do have our free will, whether we choose to move forward with that or not. And that's where a lot of us kind of get stuck and choose the opposite because it's comfortable, because it's knowing, because it's safer, or we think it's safer. So that's where working with somebody to help you get to that future alignment of yourself is so beneficial, because you have somebody who has already been there with you, and like, but we've been there, and it's just these baby steps that we need to take. It's not like you have to quit your job tomorrow and all of a sudden be a speaker on that stage. Like, we know it's not going to work, but what baby steps can we do together to get you to that aligned self, that aligned future self?
Mm. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also it's sometimes, we think about, oh, can success happen like overnight? But then we know that sometimes in this human experience, things move at a slower pace, and sometimes it's better to allow ourselves to go at a slower pace as well, because that's how you then understand and see the next step and the next step. And also, you don't want to create a shock for your mind, because your intuition may tell you, yeah, go on stage, but then allowing your mind to process that as well. So what a fantastic tool you have embraced to then help others go through their journeys as well. So I know, Paige, that in your story, you also mentioned the healing deep feminine wounds. Can you explain what these wounds are and how do they usually manifest in people's lives?
So the deep feminine wounds is usually like the people pleasing, right? So for myself, and you're people pleasing and you don't even realize you're people pleasing. So for example, for my life, this all kind of started in my early 30s. But it just kind of got to me one day. I was just like, okay, so I have the perfect life on paper. Like, we have the beautiful house. We have, back then I had 2 kids. I have the 8 to 4 job, summers off, benefits, all the things. But it just felt so mundane, so like robotic. I was just going through the motions. Like, it's not even like I wasn't even alive. It didn't feel like I was alive because we were just so like rhythmic, right? And there was just this like this nudge, or like this calling, or this whisper. There's like, this is it. Like, this can't be it. There's got to be more. Like, there is more. And that's when I started to realize, like, or like think like, am I living this life because I was told to? Like, this is success and I was supposed to be super happy with this? Or am I doing, like, is this me? Is this my life? Or did I create this for somebody else? And that's when that whole journey really started. And I realized, like, no, this is not, like, this is boring. This is all, like, I'm not in touch with any of my gifts, or I don't even know what my gifts are. I don't even know who I am. So that's where that really kind of brought me deep, because a lot of us have lost ourselves along the way, because we're trying to meet the societal expectations, we've just lost ourselves along the way. We've lost our essence, we lost our gifts. And this actually brought me way all the way back to like when I was 10. And I remembered who I was when I was 10. Like, if you think, and I like to bring my clients back a lot, because it's usually when we were kids, is when we were in our full essence. And then somewhere along the way, we lost ourselves, or like we thought it was weird, or right, it was deemed like, yeah, just weird, or like it wasn't productive, or it wasn't successful because it didn't bring money in or anything like that, right? But it's really getting back to that essence of who you were as a child, because we didn't have baggage then. We didn't have expectations. We didn't have any of those things. So our gifts really are rooted back when we were kids, and it's going back to finding that and then honoring that and bringing her back, or bringing that flow, that feminine back. Yeah, so it was more of like just freeing her and allowing her to go deep into like, what were those wounds that made me who I was, and how can I break free of those? So a lot of it was people pleasing. A lot of it was the sisterhood wound. A lot of it was not trusting my intuition was my biggest one. Once I started to trust my intuition and started to give myself evidence of what it was like when I trusted my intuition and what went really awesome when I did, that is when things just really started to open up for me, and just really started to see things a lot differently. And it was like you just stepped into this like magical world because it was just yeah, you just didn't know what was next. But then you get to this place where it's okay that you don't know what's next. And you just know that it's on its way, or it's going to be shown to yourself. And that is, to me, it's like, that's your wild woman, that's your trusting, that's your feminine, that's your raw. And I just love bringing women back into that essence again.
Wow, that sounds really juicy. When somebody is on such a path, when they just feel, oh, wow, I'm so ready to change everything. I'm so ready to look at what else is there for me. And I know that you mentioned where like this journey started for you of like reconnecting with your soul, or remembering who you are at a soul level when you were a mom of two kids. And then I know that later you had your third child. And it sounds like you've been through such a huge transition and transformation from that point where you're a mom of two to the point where you're a mom of three and in a family, you know, with your husband. How did all of that transition go for you? And how did you start to communicate to your family, to connect with your kids, with your husband, and tell them, hey, actually, I want to discover more about myself now? How did you decide to step on this path and express that to them? And how did they receive your message?
So with my husband, I was actually very fortunate. We kind of, I'd say, like, woke up at the same time. So that was really nice. But however, we did it on different pathways. So there were a lot of years where he was okay with me going forward because he was also interested, but he was very much still stuck in his masculine wound. So he was so busy working and providing and go, 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 go. But we've both totally turned the last, like, I say 6 months here with our next move. So he's definitely on a totally different path than that. But he was so busy doing that he didn't really, he's like, yeah, whatever, go do your thing, go do your thing. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So he was very supportive in that way. So I didn't have to do much convincing with my husband at all, but it was that tricky part where the frequencies were changing, right? Like, so my vibration was kind of raising and he was kind of slowly coming up. So we did have a moment, probably this last year was probably the toughest for our marriage in that frequency split. But luckily like I said, the last couple of months, we have really worked on that, and it's actually feeling much more aligned and much more, feels good now. So that's another whole different piece though, but we can talk about that later if you'd like. But then with my kids, well, what I noticed with my kids, of course, and this is what I noticed with my kids too, when, especially when I was really down and out about 2020, 2021. And actually, again, when we went through some tough times with my husband with our marriage, when mom is not okay, everybody else in the family is not okay. So they were okay with it because as I was healing, they were healing. And the last time I really noticed it, when we were going through this tough time with my marriage, and then all of a sudden there was this one session that I did for myself, and it just totally changed my frequency, totally blasted my heart wide open, totally softened me. And then the next day, it was almost like the whole household just went, right? So as I relaxed and opened up, so did all of them. So that's when I really noticed, like, holy crap, like that's powerful just for us as moms, as the matriarch of the family, like how much power we have there just in this little life of ours in this home. Like that's huge. So it's like, again, it's another kind of like way to look at it. Like you're not just doing this for you, you're doing it for your whole family, and then it ripples out. So if you are struggling with that and thinking, oh, I'm taking too much time away, just keep bringing it back to like, no, because every time you heal, they are healing. Every time you feel like you can take a breath, they're taking a breath. Every time that you feel confident to go forward with those life mysteries, they feel confident to go ahead with those life mysteries. So it really does ripple out in such a big, big way. The other thing I did notice is that every time I went to heal something, or something came up in my life that grabbed my attention to be looked at and healed, the same thing were happening to my girls, but on their level, on their child, like on their, like where they're at in their life. So my oldest eventually kind of caught on, and it was funny. I can't even remember what the situation was, but she's like, Mom, what are you healing right now? Like, so she started to realize that like it was this ripple effect. Like it really does go down the generational line. Like, and I could see it for myself, and even my kids started to pick that up. So that was really cool. So yeah, no, they've been all on board, all online with my immediate family. The out family, that was a little more difficult. They are, of course, I think they listened to me. They just tolerated what I was saying. Like none of them have really took such a jump into it like I have. But yeah, no, they're all supportive in the way that they'll listen to me, and they'll tolerate what I have to say and say, hey, this is what I did. And like, oh yeah, okay. But that's okay, because I found so many beautiful soul sisters along the way that had just become family, and I can just text in and call in or video chat with them in, and we've just kind of created, you just start creating family, like soul family outside of your blood family. And again, that can be scary and that can be lonely. So that's not like, it's not fun, but it helps you shed out the pieces that just don't fit anymore, and being okay with that. And that's okay, because it's allowing room for those who do fit, that do get it, that are in alignment with you. It gives them room to come into your life and into your energy field and into your space.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing this, because I'm sure there will be many, many viewers who will watch this video and they'll feel, oh, okay, that's actually, that makes sense. Because, and it reminds me of a phrase that I heard recently. It was saying, what's best for me, it's best for everyone. And I created an email and sent it to everybody on my email list. But it reminded me of that, because this is really true. Those people who you connect with on a daily basis, especially your family, your kids, your spouse, they are there. You're in the same bubble, right? And when one of the family is not happy, then everybody feels that. And you took that conscious choice to heal and go forward. And I can totally relate to healing on a DNA level, and you heal the past and the present and the future. Thank you so much for doing this work, Paige. Thank you, and thank you for sharing this with everybody who's watching us. So let me ask you, what is it that you are going through at the moment? Something you're working on, something you're planning for the near future, or more? Share with us.
So our next big thing, and well, I've just started to launch my business, which is exciting and huge. Collaborating the Akashics and the mushrooms. So just helping, again, women get to that space where they know there's more in life. They know they're ready for something different. They're feeling like, okay, this doesn't feel good. Like there's just there, I'm waking up like just with this ache, or like there's something more. I need something different. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin right now. I'm uncomfortable in my own surroundings. So I'm really excited to start that business, where that coaching, those programs, those containers where we can go get deep and like, what is trying to be birthed through you? What is trying to come through you? What is trying to get your attention, to get you back into your alignment, back into your feminine essence, back into your gifts, back into your purpose, back into that moment of like, you go to bed feeling fulfilled and you wake up feeling like, I can't wait to start my day. So back to that pure, beautiful essence that we're here to do. Like that is why we're here on earth, is to do that. And then we've lost that somewhere along the way. So like, what a beautiful world this would be if a lot of us were living that life, right? Like how exciting would that be? And how different would our everyday be? So I'm very excited to start that. And then we're also starting a new chapter. It's happened so fast. So back in the fall, we used to live in Ontario, Canada. And then just like I was just saying, there was just something about where we used to live. There was a town where we, both my husband and I were born and raised. It was small towns, small communities. And it was just this, it was uncomfortable. We're like, there's something here that it doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't fit. I can't figure out the puzzle pieces. We're not supposed to be here anymore. So I didn't know where that was. And you and I actually connected back in 2018, 2019, and you took me for into a journey of my future self. So very similar. And my future self was in Costa Rica, and I've never been to Costa Rica before. I didn't even know. I was just like, I don't know why, but I'm in Costa Rica. And I saw my kids there, and I saw myself working away on a computer. But I pushed it off thinking, oh yeah, no, this is obviously when I'm retired. Like I can't be doing that now. But after I came out and I integrated it, it just got so, it was like it awakened in me. And I was like, it was just sitting there. Like I had to do this. I have to go. I have to go. And I brought it to my husband, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. We're retired. Because at that time he was just creating his business. And I actually had a brick and mortar business at that time too. And I was like, yeah, it'll be later. But that feeling just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And then both of our excuse me, businesses actually kind of crumbled under our feet. And everything got rearranged on us. So then that's when I was like, okay, so what are we supposed to do? What's next? Like, it's not here. And then my husband was like, well, maybe, remember when you saw Costa Rica? Maybe it is Costa Rica. And then I was like, oh my God, yes, that's it. And then, so we had this full, like, okay, we're going to do it. So we allowed everything to kind of crumble underneath us, and we sold our house, and then we got hit with another boom, and something else from my husband's business came through. And that kind of stalled us for a year, but we still had that feeling of like, but it's not like back in our hometown in Ontario. We're like, it's not here though. Like this we still feel so uncomfortable. We can't be here. We don't know where, we don't know anybody. We don't even have jobs to go to, but we need to, like, there's just something that was pushing us forward. And I sat with it and I was like, okay, so it's not Costa Rica right now. I get it. Boo, that sucks. But where is it? And I was being pushed to go out west. So I, again, ran it through my husband. And by this time, my husband is really starting to understand, like, when my intuition speaks, like, we need to listen, because we have now built up enough evidence that, like, what happens when we listen and when we don't listen. So he's like, okay, we'll do that. So he is on board. The kids were on board. So we moved out to Alberta, Canada, which is just a couple provinces over. We didn't have jobs. But we trusted what my intuition, what that feminine intuition was trying to tell us. And it was like the best thing for us. Now we're only 10 months into being here. But it was huge transformations for both of us. Like I said, my husband and I were going through some really hard times through our marriage at that point, but it was exactly what we needed for both of us to heal, even as individuals, and then come together as a couple. And now we're actually ready for our next step, which Costa Rica came flying in again. And we didn't buy here in Alberta because I knew we were supposed to be in Costa Rica. I just didn't know the timeline. So I didn't want to buy. So our rent agreement is actually coming up in September. And we came back together again, and we were like, okay, so is this the time? Our rent is coming up, or our lease is coming up in September. Do we do this now? And of course, the full body, like, yes. So that's what we're deciding to do. We're following again that intuition, or that intuitive nudge. Again, it's a place, Costa Rica is a place where you can't just go and work anywhere. You have to create your own finances. You have to create your own businesses there, or work online, which we both don't have under our feet yet. So again, we're doing the same thing and just trusting what we're being called over there to do. And yeah, so that'll be coming up in September. So we are packing everything up here in Alberta. We're selling everything and just putting our very bare minimals into totes right now. So everything's all over the place. But yeah, that's the next big adventure in the Kaufman household.
Wow.
Again, just trusting that feminine intuition. And that's the piece that I really love. That's what's happening right now with my marriage, is I am really embracing that feminine intuition and that flow and allowing it to come through. And my husband has now figured out, as the masculine, to hold that container for me. And so that's the really cool thing that we've discovered while being here and have really figured out. So it's been beautiful and exciting, and can't wait to see what's next.
Ooh, that sounds really exciting. And 2024, as we're recording this video in 2024, is a huge year. It really is a huge year. It pushed many of us out of our comfort zone on such different levels. And I loved what you said, like, when my intuition speaks, we listen. I love that. I can even see it on a t-shirt, and wearing it. When my intuition speaks, we listen. That's really cool. Wow, I can't wait to see to just hear about your next steps, Paige, and I know it's going to be amazing and fascinating. To everyone who's watching us, please check out the description of this video, because you'll find the links where to connect with Paige and how to maybe, connect with her in the services or products that she will continue to have in the future. You may watch this video at a later date. So just find her, connect with her. She is an absolutely beautiful soul, and it's been a joy to hear about her journey too. So as we're wrapping up this episode, Paige, is there anything you wanted to share with everyone who's watching this video? Just a message, anything that comes to you.
Well, the first message would just be trusting that intuitive nudge, that nudge that maybe might feel uncomfortable, but trusting what it has to say and really tuning into it, because that really is the first step. And it might seem not logical. It might not make sense, but do it anyway and see what happens on the other side. I can guarantee you'll be so grateful that you did.
Thank you. Thank you, Paige. And thank you to everyone who's watching us. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and ring the notification bell. Thanks again. See you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.